Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because when we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you. The Grand Chamber of the Zeltraxian court buzzed with anticipation as figures from across the galaxy gathered for the Queen's announcement. The hall, a spectacular array of bioluminescent flora and hovering lights, cast an otherworldly glow on the attendees. At the center of it all, Queen Virelia stood regal and composed, her eyes scanning the crowd before settling on her chosen guest, Captain Elliot Reeves. Esteemed guests, Queen Virelia began, her voice amplified and clear, echoing off the crystalline walls. Today marks a pivotal moment in our history. In our pursuit of deeper understanding and peace, we extend a hand of friendship to humanity. Elliot shifted uncomfortably in his ceremonial attire, the weight of many alien gazes upon him. He was a tall man, with the lean build of someone used to living in space, his skin pale against the vibrant colors of the court. Captain Elliot Reeves, the Queen continued, turning to him with a graceful nod. You have been selected to partake in an unprecedented exchange. You will live with my daughter, Princess Leora, to foster a cultural and intellectual exchange between our species. The crowd murmured, and Elliot's heart raced. Living with an alien princess? The assignment was beyond anything he had imagined when he had been briefed by his superiors. Elliot stepped forward, his voice steady despite his nerves. Your Majesty, I am honored by your trust. I promise to do all in my power to bridge our worlds. Princess Leora, who had been standing beside her mother, stepped forward. Her appearance was strikingly ethereal. Her skin shimmered with a subtle glow, and her eyes reflected a wisdom far beyond her years. Captain Reeves, she said, her tone both curious and commanding. I hope you are prepared to truly understand our ways. We are not just what you see in our lights and colors. I am here to learn and share, Princess, Elliot replied, meeting her gaze with an earnestness that seemed to soften her slightly. The Queen smiled, pleased by the exchange. You will start tomorrow. Tonight, you dine with us as our guest of honor. Let this evening be the foundation of our future. As the assembly dispersed, Elliot was approached by his liaison, a Zeltraxian named Ferrix, who was to help him acclimate. Ferrix was shorter than Elliot, with a friendly demeanor that made him immediately likable. Captain, I must say, you handled that better than I expected, Ferrix chuckled, leading Elliot towards the dining area. The princess can be quite intimidating. Elliot laughed, the sound more nervous than he intended. I got that impression. Any advice on how to not offend her by accident? Be yourself, but be respectful. She values honesty, but also tact, Ferrix advised as they walked through a corridor adorned with moving images of Zeltraxian history. At the dinner, Elliot found himself seated next to Leora. The meal was an array of unfamiliar dishes, each explained by Leora with a passion that showed her love for her culture. As you taste each dish, think of the history and the people who made it, Leora said, offering him something that looked like a glowing blue custard. Much like us, it's complex and rich in layers. Elliot nodded, taking a cautious bite. The flavors were extraordinary and alien, yet somehow delightful. It's incredible, he admitted. There's nothing like this on Earth. Leora smiled, a genuine warmth reaching her eyes. And I hope to say the same when I eventually visit your world. Their conversation throughout the meal meandered from culinary arts to literature, and Elliot found himself genuinely fascinated by her insights and the depth of her knowledge. As the evening drew to a close, Elliot felt the initial tension of his assignment give way to a budding excitement about the days to come. The task was daunting, but the opportunity to forge a real connection seemed within reach. To understanding and beyond, he toasted, raising his glass to Leora. To new horizons, she agreed, her glass chiming against his in the quiet hum of the Zeltraxian night. Elliot's first morning in the Zeltraxian palace was met with an unsettling mix of excitement and trepidation. He woke early, restless from the anticipation of the day ahead. As he dressed, the reality of his situation, living among an alien race, sharing their home and customs, felt both daunting and surreal. He met Ferrix in the palace's vast garden, where the morning light filtered through translucent leaves, casting an ethereal glow. Ferrix, with a knowing smile, handed Elliot a cup of steaming local beverage. It's called Felix, helps with the nerves, he explained. Elliot took a cautious sip, the drink's flavor complex and soothing. Thanks, I think I'll need it. They walked towards a section of the garden where Princess Leora was already waiting. She was engaged in what appeared to be a form of meditation, her eyes closed, and her hands floating rhythmically in the air. "Good morning, Princess Leora," Elliot greeted, unsure if he should interrupt. Leora opened her eyes, her expression serene. "Good morning, Captain Reeves. I hope the Felix is to your liking." "It's very calming, thank you." Elliot glanced around, trying to appear at ease. "This garden is incredible. It's one of my favorite places," Leora confessed, her tone inviting. "Each plant here is from a different part of our planet. They represent the diversity of Zeltraxian life. I think understanding a culture's flora can reveal much about its people." "Then I'm in the right place to learn," Elliot remarked, genuinely intrigued. "Let's start with something simple," Leora proposed, guiding him to a plant with luminous violet blooms. "This is a crelium. It thrives in low light, but its flowers emit light during the night. It's much like us Zeltraxians, thriving in peace yet vibrant in our own way." Elliot listened intently, nodding as he made notes on his device. "And what's that towering plant over there?" he asked, pointing to a species with cascading golden leaves. "That's a Solaris tree. It absorbs sunlight and can illuminate our paths at night. Useful, isn't it?" Leora smiled, watching Elliot's fascination grow. As they toured the garden, Elliot felt a gradual shift in their dynamic. The initial formality began to give way to a mutual curiosity and respect. Leora's knowledge about her world was extensive, and her pride in her heritage was evident. They spent the morning exploring the different biomes replicated in the garden, each designed to mimic the various ecosystems of Zeltrax. Elliot was particularly taken by a small waterfall that flowed without a visible source. "How is this possible?" he wondered aloud. "It's engineered," Leora explained. "Zeltraxian technology can manipulate gravitational fields to create perpetual motion, like this waterfall. It symbolizes our philosophy, continuous progress and harmony with nature." Elliot marveled at the technology, his mind racing with questions and ideas. "Your advances could help solve many of Earth's environmental issues," he mused. "That's the hope," Leora acknowledged. "Perhaps, through our shared knowledge, we can address some of those challenges." Their conversation continued as they walked back towards the palace, discussing potential collaborative projects. Elliot felt a growing enthusiasm, not just for the diplomatic mission, but for the personal connection that was forming. Leora wasn't just a princess. She was a visionary, much like the leaders he respected back home. As they parted ways for the afternoon, Leora turned to Elliot with a thoughtful expression. "Captain Reeves, I think this is the beginning of something significant." Elliot smiled, feeling the weight of the opportunity before him. "I agree, Princess. I'm looking forward to what comes next." Their paths diverged at the archway, leading out of the garden, each lost in thoughts of the future. Elliot knew that the coming weeks would be challenging, but for the first time since his arrival, he felt ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. Elliot spent his first few weeks on Zeltrax delving deep into the study of its language and customs, under the guidance of Princess Leora and his liaison Ferrix. As they ventured beyond the palace to the bustling markets of the capital city, Elliot found himself surrounded by sights, sounds, and scents unlike anything he had ever experienced. "Try this, Captain," Ferrix said, handing Elliot a small, spiky fruit from a vendor's stall. "It's called Jarnik. Sweet, with a hint of spice. You won't find anything like it on Earth." Elliot took a cautious bite, and his face lit up with surprise. "That's incredible. It's like mango meets pepper." Leora laughed, a sound that Elliot found more musical each day. "Exactly right. You're getting a taste for our flavors, Captain." They continued through the market, with Leora explaining the significance of various goods and artifacts. At one stall, a craftsman demonstrated traditional Zeltraxian weaving techniques. Leora and Elliot watched, fascinated, as his fingers moved with astonishing speed and precision. "Would you like to try?" the craftsman offered, looking at Elliot with a friendly challenge in his eyes. Elliot hesitated, then nodded. "I'd love to." With the craftsman's guidance, Elliot attempted to mimic the complex movements. The threads tangled more than once, eliciting good-natured chuckles from both Leora and Ferrix. Despite the initial struggle, Elliot's attempts grew smoother, his focus intense. "You have a knack for this," Leora observed, her tone warm. "Perhaps not a weaver's skill yet, but a learner's enthusiasm." "It's the same with your language," Elliot responded, tying off his small, somewhat messy section of the weave. "I'm starting to catch the rhythm of it, but there's a lot to learn." As the afternoon wore on, they visited a local cafe, where discussions turned from cultural crafts to governance and policy. Elliot was eager to understand Zeltraxian political structures, and Leora was a willing teacher. Our leaders are chosen based on their expertise and their ability to think of the collective good, Leora explained. It's a meritocracy of sorts. How does it compare to Earth systems? Elliot thought for a moment. It varies by country, but many places use a democratic system. Leaders are elected by the people, though it's not always as straightforward as it sounds. Fascinating, Leora mused. The concept of election by mass vote isn't common here. We should explore this further. They agreed to set up a series of discussions and presentations about their respective governance systems, a project that excited both of them. Elliot was particularly keen to present Earth's variety of political landscapes, while Leora planned to delve into the philosophical underpinnings of Zeltraxian policy. That evening, as they walked back to the palace, the setting sun cast a golden light over the city, reflecting off the metallic and glass structures in a spectacular display. "Your world is beautiful," Elliot said, genuinely awestruck. Leora smiled. "And yet, I find myself eager to learn about yours. Through your eyes, perhaps I can see it anew." Their conversation lingered on the similarities and differences in their worlds, a dialogue that spanned the stars. As they parted ways for the night, Elliot felt a profound sense of connection, not just to Leora, but to Zeltrax itself. The initial barriers of alienness were slowly dissolving, replaced by shared curiosity and respect. Elliot retired to his quarters, reflecting on the day. With each new experience, he felt less like a foreign diplomat and more like a participant in a grand exchange of ideas and friendship. As he drifted off to sleep, he wondered what the next day's lessons would bring, eager for the continued journey into this alien yet increasingly familiar world. Weeks into his stay on Zeltrax, Elliot found himself more absorbed in the planet's culture than he had ever imagined possible. His days were filled with lessons and explorations, each providing deeper insights into the Zeltraxian way of life. Today, he was scheduled to give his first lecture on human culture, a task he approached with a mix of excitement and nervousness. In a spacious room lined with holographic projectors, Elliot prepared his notes. Ferrix, ever supportive, was helping him set up the equipment. "Make sure you mention the diversity of Earth's cultures," Ferrix advised, checking the audio settings on the projector. Zeltraxians are fascinated by the concept of so many distinct societies coexisting on a single planet. "That's definitely on the agenda," Elliot confirmed. He adjusted his translator device, making sure his speech would be understood by the varied audience of Zeltraxian scholars and students. As the room filled, Leora entered, her presence commanding and gracious. She joined Elliot at the front, offering him an encouraging smile. "I've been looking forward to this," she said. "Your perspective is quite unique, Captain." Elliot nodded, taking a deep breath as he faced the crowd. "Good day, everyone. I'm here to share some aspects of human culture, which I hope will offer you a broader understanding of who we are." He began with an overview of Earth's geography, highlighting the variety of climates and landscapes, from the arid deserts of Africa to the icy expanses of Antarctica. The audience was visibly intrigued, their eyes fixed on the images flickering across the holographic screens. Moving on to cultural practices, Elliot shared videos and photos of various festivals and ceremonies. "This is the Festival of Colors celebrated in India," he explained, displaying vibrant scenes of people throwing colored powders. "It marks the beginning of spring and celebrates the victory of good over evil." Leora, fascinated, leaned in. "The use of color is striking. It seems to hold a lot of symbolic significance in your traditions." "It does," Elliot agreed. "Colors can express emotions, represent social status, or even tell stories." As the lecture progressed, Elliot discussed the concepts of democracy and political diversity, which sparked a lively discussion among the attendees. A young Zeltraxian scholar raised a hand, asking, "How do you manage conflicts between so many different beliefs and systems?" Elliot thought for a moment before answering. "It's a challenge, but dialogue and understanding are key. We have international bodies designed to facilitate cooperation and resolve disputes." Leora added her thoughts. "It's similar to how we manage diversity here on Zeltrax, though our methods are structured differently." The session ended with applause, and many stayed behind to ask Elliot further questions. He felt a sense of accomplishment and connection that went beyond his official duties. Later, as Elliot and Leora walked through one of the palace's quieter corridors, they reflected on the day's events. "I think you've opened some minds today, Elliot," Leora said thoughtfully. "Seeing Earth through your eyes, it's both strange and wonderful." Elliot smiled. "And I've gained just as much from being here. Your openness and curiosity make this exchange more than just a diplomatic mission." It's a true learning experience. They paused by a window overlooking the royal gardens, the setting sun casting long shadows across the path. Perhaps tomorrow you could teach me more about human art? Leora suggested. I'm curious about your paintings and sculptures. I like that, Elliot replied. Art is a window into the soul of a culture, and I'm eager to share mine with you, as you have shared yours with me. As they parted ways for the evening, Elliot felt a renewed sense of purpose. The cultural exchange was shaping up to be a profound journey, not just between two diplomats, but between two worlds gradually drawing closer through shared knowledge and mutual respect. Elliot and Leora were both looking forward to the Festival of Stars, an annual Zeltraxian event that celebrated celestial phenomena with much fanfare. This year, Elliot was invited not just as a spectator, but as a participant, which added an extra layer of excitement to the preparations. In the days leading up to the festival, Elliot worked closely with Leora and Ferrix to understand the traditions and customs associated with the event. They spent long afternoons in the palace's cultural wing, where Elliot was introduced to the historical significance of the festival. It began as a harvest festival, Leora explained as she showed Elliot the ancient artifacts and scrolls. But over the centuries, it evolved into a celebration of the stars and our place in the cosmos. Elliot was fascinated. There's something universal about star festivals. Many cultures on Earth have them too, though probably not as spectacular as this. As part of the festival, there's a tradition where new friends exchange gifts that symbolize light and life. Ferrix chimed in, handing Elliot a small, beautifully crafted lamp. You're supposed to give this to someone who has illuminated your life since the last festival. Elliot accepted the lamp, touched by the gesture. I think I know just the person. The day of the Festival of Stars arrived, and the atmosphere was electric. The city was adorned with lights, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming night flowers. Elliot, Leora, and Ferrix walked together to the main square, where the celebrations were to be held. The square was packed with Zeltraxians and a few other interstellar visitors. Stalls lined the edges, selling everything from traditional foods to intricate light devices. Elliot was dressed in a Zeltraxian robe, a gift from Leora, which drew many admiring glances. Looks like you're fitting right in, Leora teased as they approached a stall selling flavored ice concoctions. Thanks to my excellent guides, Elliot replied, smiling. They tried different flavors, laughing at each other's reactions to the more unusual tastes. As the night progressed, they joined the crowd in the central arena, where the highlight of the festival, a dance under the stars, was about to begin. Elliot was nervous about the dance, having practiced only briefly, but Leora reassured him with a gentle nudge. Just follow my lead, she whispered as they joined the dancers. The music started, a haunting melody that seemed to echo the twinkling of stars above. Elliot found himself swept away by the rhythm, guided by Leora's confident movements. During a quieter moment, as they paused to catch their breath, Elliot presented Leora with the lamp he had received from Ferrix. You've definitely brought light into my life these past weeks, he said earnestly. Leora accepted the lamp, her eyes reflecting the starlight. And you have brought new perspectives into mine, Elliot. Thank you. The evening ended with a spectacular display of lights that mimicked the constellations above. Standing beside Leora and Ferrix, Elliot felt a profound connection to this alien world that had welcomed him so warmly. As they walked back to the palace, Elliot felt content, his heart full of the night's magic. This has been one of the best nights of my life, he admitted as they reached the palace gates. It's only the beginning, Leora promised, her voice full of mystery and warmth. There's so much more to share and explore. Elliot nodded, already looking forward to the days ahead. The Festival of Stars might have ended, but his journey with Leora and the Zeltraxian people was just getting started. Their shared experiences under the stars had woven a bond that promised to grow stronger with each passing day. After the Festival of Stars, the bond between Elliot and Leora deepened. Their days were filled with shared projects and explorations, but it was the quiet evenings that brought them closer, allowing them to share thoughts and dreams under the alien skies of Zeltrax. One such evening, they found themselves at the edge of the Royal Observatory, a place Leora cherished for its peacefulness and its panoramic view of the galaxy. As they watched a meteor shower streak across the night, the conversation turned introspective. Do you ever think about the stars, Elliot? About their stories? Leora asked, her eyes reflecting the celestial dance. All the time, Elliot responded, his voice soft with wonder. Back on Earth, we have countless myths and legends about the constellations. They're like old friends. Leora smiled, turning to face him. Here, we believe that each shooting star represents a new possibility, an opportunity for change and growth. That's a beautiful way to see it, Elliot remarked, his gaze meeting hers. Their conversations often lingered on the philosophical, bridging the cosmic with the personal. As the night deepened, their talk drifted to more personal topics, hopes, fears, and the strange twist of fate that had brought them together. When I first heard the Queen's decree, I never imagined it would lead to this. To us, Elliot confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. Leora moved closer, her presence comforting. Nor did I. But I'm grateful. You show me a perspective of the universe I hadn't considered. Their shared laughter faded as they continued to watch the sky. The air between them charged with an unspoken emotion. They slowly turned towards each other. Leora reached out, her hand hesitantly finding Elliot's. Her touch was warm, and Elliot responded by gently squeezing her hand, a silent affirmation of their connection. Encouraged by his response, Leora leaned in, and Elliot met her halfway, their first kiss a tender exploration. It was a soft, hesitant contact, full of the promise of more to come. They pulled away slightly, eyes searching each other's in the dim light. Elliot's heart raced as he brushed a strand of hair from Leora's face. "Is this okay?" he asked, the need for consent paramount despite the rush of his emotions. "Yes," Leora whispered back, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "More than okay." They kissed again, this time with a bit more confidence, exploring the new dimensions of their relationship. The kiss deepened, fueled by the weeks of growing closeness and mutual respect. Their hands explored familiar yet thrilling territory, the curve of a back, the line of a jaw. As they eventually broke apart, breathless under the starlit sky, they knew something significant had shifted. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars and contemplating their next steps. "I don't know what the future holds," Elliot finally said, "but I know I want you in it." Leora leaned her head on his shoulder. "And I you. Whatever comes, we face it together." Their conversation lingered into the night as they planned, dreamed, and eventually fell asleep under the stars, wrapped in each other's arms, content in the shared warmth and the silent promise of a shared tomorrow. The night's meteor shower continued unabated, a silent witness to their burgeoning love, each streaking light a testament to new beginnings and the timeless dance of the cosmos. As Elliot and Leora's relationship blossomed, not everyone viewed their growing closeness with favor. Rumors of their intimate bond began to stir concern among the Zeltraxian High Council, leading to an inevitable summons to the palace's Grand Council chamber. Elliot, dressed formally in a blend of Earth and Zeltraxian attire, felt the gravity of the situation as he walked beside Leora. Her expression was calm, but he sensed her underlying tension. Upon entering the chamber, they were greeted by a semicircle of council members, with the Queen presiding over the meeting. The air was thick with formality and a palpable sense of unease. "Elliot Reeves and Princess Leora," the Queen began, her voice echoing slightly in the vast room. "It has come to our attention that your association has evolved beyond the professional." "Is this true?" Leora stepped forward, her posture resolute. "Yes, Mother. Elliot and I have developed personal feelings for each other. We believe our relationship only strengthens the bridge we are building between our people." A murmur ran through the council. Ferrex, who had accompanied them as a support, gave Elliot an encouraging nod. Councillor Terex, a senior member known for his conservative views, addressed them next. "This council recognizes the importance of cultural exchange, but we must consider the implications. How do we ensure that this attachment does not cloud your judgment or compromise your duties?" Elliot took a deep breath before responding. "Counselor, I understand your concerns, but I assure you our commitment to our mission has only deepened. Our relationship has provided unique insights and fostered a deeper understanding that we believe is invaluable." Another counselor, Vera, known for her progressive stance, joined the discussion. "Perhaps there is merit in allowing this to continue under observation. It could serve as a living example of integration and mutual respect." The debate continued, with various council members expressing their views. Elliot and Leora listened, waiting for their chance to further defend their position. Finally, the Queen raised her hand for silence. "I have heard enough. It is clear that this matter is not just about personal feelings, but about the potential for a new kind of alliance. I propose a period of probation. Elliot and Leora will continue their work and relationship under close supervision. We will reassess in one cycle." "Thank you, Mother," Leora said, her relief evident. Elliot nodded his gratitude to the council, especially to those who had spoken in their favor. As they exited the chamber, Ferrex approached them, a smile breaking through his usually stoic demeanor. "Well handled, both of you. I believe you've just navigated one of the toughest challenges you could face here." Elliot chuckled, the tension easing from his shoulders. "Thanks, Ferrex. Your support means a lot." Leora took Elliot's hand, her touch reassuring. "Come, let's walk the gardens. We need a moment to ourselves." They wandered through the familiar paths of the royal gardens, reflecting on the council's decision. "Do you think they made the right call?" Elliot asked, watching a pair of native birds flit through the flowering bushes. "I do," Leora replied, squeezing his hand. "It shows they're willing to explore new ideas, even if cautiously. And it gives us a chance to prove that our relationship can bring about positive change." Elliot nodded, his heart lighter. "Then let's make sure we do just that." As they continued their walk, the future seemed uncertain, but the promise of what they could achieve together filled them with determination. The garden, with its vibrant life and serene beauty, was a perfect backdrop for their renewed commitment to each other and their mission. In the cycle that followed the council's decision, Elliot and Leora worked tirelessly, not only to maintain their professional roles but also to demonstrate the positive impacts of their union. Their efforts culminated in a comprehensive presentation to the Zeltraxian High Council, showcasing their achievements and the deeper understanding they had fostered between human and Zeltraxian cultures. On the day of the presentation, the council chamber was filled with a sense of expectancy. Elliot adjusted his translator device one last time before he and Leora stepped forward. Beside him, Leora looked poised and confident, her presence commanding the room's attention. "Ladies and gentlemen of the council," Elliot began, "over the past cycle, we have dedicated ourselves to proving that our relationship enhances our ability to serve our people." Leora took over smoothly, her voice clear and strong. "We've initiated several joint projects, including cultural exchanges and collaborative research initiatives. These have not only been successful, but have laid the groundwork for future partnerships." The screens behind them lit up with images and data from their projects, language immersion programs, ecological preservation efforts, and joint technological developments. Each slide was a testament to their hard work and the potential benefits of their continued partnership. Counselor Terex, who had been skeptical from the start, leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. "This is impressive," he conceded. "But how do we measure the long-term benefits of these initiatives?" Elliot was prepared for this. "We propose an ongoing evaluation framework," he explained, outlining a detailed plan for tracking the progress and outcomes of each project. "With regular reviews, we can adapt and expand our efforts to ensure they bring maximum benefit." As the presentation concluded, the room erupted into discussion. The Queen, who had been observing silently, finally spoke. "It appears that Captain Reeves and Princess Leora have not only met but exceeded our expectations." She paused, letting her words sink in. "It is time for this council to consider not just what has been achieved, but what could be accomplished if we continue to support this union." The council members nodded in agreement, murmuring among themselves. Finally, Counselor Vera stood up. "I believe it's clear that Elliot and Leora have not only bridged two cultures, but have also set a new precedent for how we approach interstellar relations." She looked around, her gaze settling on each of her fellow counselors. "I move to fully endorse their partnership and the continuation of their work, without reservations." The motion was seconded and put to a vote. One by one, the council members cast their votes, the majority in favor. The Queen smiled, pleased with the outcome. "Then it is decided. Elliot, Leora, you have the council's full support." Elliot and Leora exchanged a look of relief and joy. As the chamber cleared, Ferrex approached them, clapping Elliot on the back. "Well done, both of you. You made history today." Outside the council chamber, Leora took Elliot's hand, leading him to the palace gardens. They walked in silence for a moment, each processing the weight of what had just occurred. "Elliot, do you realize what we've started?" Leora asked, her voice full of wonder. "I think so," Elliot replied, his heart full. "It's more than I ever imagined when I first set foot on Zeltrax." They stopped by the fountain where they had first discussed their feelings under the stars. "It's been quite a journey," Leora said. "And it's far from over." "That's right," Elliot agreed, pulling her close. "Together we'll keep building bridges, not just between our worlds, but wherever our efforts are needed." As they stood there, united and hopeful, the future seemed bright with possibilities. Their love had not only survived the scrutiny, but had flourished, becoming a symbol of unity and progress. In the quiet of the Zeltraxian night, Under the light of the stars that had once seemed so distant, Elliot and Leora knew they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead together.